of the chase. Let's take a look at this here. I think this might be the chase that's going on in Echo Park. This is an SUV wanted for burglary, suspects inside, also wanted for assault on a police officer. This is a live look. I don't think we have a Desmond Shaw's probably not over this.
It looks like he's going toward, maybe in the direction of toward the 2 freeway. So that's the car that's being pursued there by police officers. You can see that exterminator sign from the freeway. It's been there for a long time. This car is this white SUV. Did you say?
It's a large one. It looks like a Suburban or something like that.
Yeah, and it looks like there may be a helicopter overhead, yes, because we see the night sun there on the vehicle. We've seen a number of chases over the course of the last couple of days. It's really not clear to us right away, at least, whether or not they're connected to what's going on or whether they're just run-of-the-mill police pursuits that were happening because of another reason.
This is westbound on Beverly from Virgil. This is in Silver Lake now. Began in Echo Park. Once again, burglary suspects. So you wonder if that's might be something related to looting. We're not for sure. We do not have that confirmed. But a number of suspects inside this large SUV. And Sarah, going pretty rapidly and fast through these side streets here through Silver Lake.
Yeah.
And to the right side, the car's almost hitting the sidewalk.
Interesting. Normally in Silver Lake, you see a lot of traffic on the surface streets there. Now we're heading toward Koreatown. Okay, so we're heading toward Koreatown now. This driver seems intent to evade police here, and as we head into this area, we're going to start to see probably busier streets, narrower streets, and a lot of businesses here in this area as well, whereas Silver Lake, a lot more residential areas.
Slowing down to take a right-hand turn. It was going pretty fast. Now, we did, at one point in time, I saw a couple of units behind him. I don't know if they're there anymore. Maybe they have backed off for fear that this was going to get out of hand because, as you see here, these are surface streets, high speeds, large vehicle, number of suspects inside, and a want is for assault of a police officer. So I can't imagine that the officers would back off because of that charge or that accusation in and of itself would be that they continue to follow him. Now the chopper, of course, you can see the night sun there focused on this SUV, but Sarah, this is also very dangerous in these neighborhoods. We always see them kind of circling. Maybe it's getting to a place they're familiar with, but thankfully, because of coronavirus and because of the curfew, the streets are mostly clear.
Blowing through stop signs right there, kind of crossing the lane, crossing the double line there into the other lane. Certainly a dangerous situation. Going through intersections always gives us anxiety watching these things happen. But it looks like that the helicopter, and I saw LAPD very briefly there above, is sticking with us for now. Of course, they always have the option to read the license plate, get some information about the driver if it is the rightful owner of the vehicle, and catch up with them later if they deem it to be too dangerous to continue the pursuit. We've seen that more and more in recent years. But in this case, they're sticking with it for now, Jeff.
Looks like they're heading towards Hollywood now. So it was Echo Park, it was Silver Lake, Koreatown, now heading towards Hollywood. This is the large SUV, burglary suspect, so at least 2 suspects inside, we believe. And one of them, or at least the vehicle, wanted for the driver inside for assault on an officer. We're not sure exactly where that happened or what came about this chase, but it is nonetheless happening right now. It's getting closer to Hollywood, and of course, Sarah, there's a large contingent of police officers in Hollywood because of those peaceful protests. There were 3 different separate walks, if you will, throughout the day in Hollywood that they are kind of deemed unlawful and are starting to arrest people. But there's a large number of police officers, at least in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's probably 101 freeway right there that he is driving over, and looked like a couple of people scattered to get out of the way, made a U-turn heading back over the freeway. It looked like officers are right behind him there and were stationed at the entrance, and I want to say that's the 101. And he crossing back over the freeway, heading down into surface streets. Is going to be hard to see because when you get into the heart of Hollywood, there are a couple of high-rise. That's a television station right there. Driver is heading right on, and police are on his or her tail, and now straight down onto one of those side streets there. Is that Gower? That might be Gower.
It's definitely Hollywood, yeah. It could definitely be Gower.
Let's see.
It is dark, of course, and this is getting harder for us to see, but these are surface streets, police pursuit, suspects inside, this large SUV blowing through red lights, stop signs.
Probably Bronson, actually.
Going very rapidly through these surface streets and these neighborhoods.
Yeah, so if it is Bronson, you have some of these houses and apartments in between some of the commercial areas of Hollywood. That driver was originally on Sunset when he crossed over the 101 freeway there. That's what you saw. And there are a lot of studios, of course, of the Sunset Gower Studios and the Bronson Studios, and a couple of the major production companies are right there, and a lot of housing right there too. Blowing through these intersections, obviously anxiety-inducing situation there with LAPD on his or her tail. And Jeff, you know, interestingly, we've seen a lot of undercover officers driving around tonight. So this person may run into an officer without intending to, because they're stationed around the city preparing and dealing with what we've seen over the last few days.
Yeah, not to mention there's a lot of law enforcement working overtime, and everybody is working because of the protests, and you got the National Guard as well. So there's a lot of law enforcement, especially in the Hollywood areas. This driver is going to the left of traffic there. We've seen it go to the right of vehicles pretty rapidly. Has thankfully at least slowed down in these smaller, more narrow streets of Hollywood, which is a good thing. At one point in time, it was wide open going through some of those streets in Silver Lake at a very, very fast pace, and it seems to be slowing down. Now, we see this a lot, Sarah, when we see the behavior of the driver in police pursuits. Of course, they don't know exactly what they're going to do, or once the police officers get behind them, they start acting very radically, sometimes just driving around in circles, and that is what appears to be happening now.
That's right. That's what we're seeing right here, at least. It's, you know, Hollywood has some of these, you know, residential streets right there where you see a lot of apartments and a lot of houses very close together. And some of the streets are so narrow, even in East Hollywood, where it's kind of hard to navigate, even if you're going slowly, if you have cars parked on both sides of the street on any given evening. So, you know, it just makes you nervous to see that, because there's not a lot of room to maneuver for the suspect or for law enforcement. A bit of a clear shot there for you now in Hollywood as we continue our coverage of this police pursuit, one of many incidents on a very, very busy couple of evenings in Los Angeles.
And again, going right through a red light there. I think that's the third or fourth one that he's gone through. Again, thankfully, this is a Monday night, and if it wasn't for you know, the curfew, there would be a lot of people in Hollywood at any given time. You have people walking and driving around Hollywood on a Monday night, and when it's the nice weather that it is out tonight. But because of, you know, the curfew and concerns with the violence of these protests, and of course coronavirus as well, you have a lot of people inside. In fact, you know, the mayor has enacted that curfew and tells everybody to stay indoors. So that's a nice silver lining to have when you have a police pursuit like this. At least there will not be as many people out that would be put in danger.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people still, despite the curfew, coming and going from work, I imagine. This person is really going fast, maybe getting on the freeway now. That would probably be the 101 if I had to take a guess, but we'll go ahead and see if we can get a locator there. And I'm thinking that our helicopter may have caught up with all of this here. And Desmond may be overhead, not quite sure yet. But this is likely the 101 freeway in the Hollywood area. And this driver is tailed by police. We've seen really quiet freeways, Jeff. You're talking about this curfew that we had in place at 6 o'clock, and of course our stay-at-home orders that continue on a modified basis here in the Los Angeles area because of the spread of coronavirus. But wow, what a busy evening, and hopefully this person decides to slow down, but there's no indication that's going to happen anytime soon, because they are just chugging along.
Well, you know, the curfew is going to benefit them on the highway because it's going to be wide open, no traffic, and they can really get up to speed, unlike those surface streets. But, you know, we know that there are a number of suspects inside this SUV, and I just saw the flash of a couple of cell phones in the back seat. So definitely you have at least the driver and one other person, if not more, inside this vehicle, one of which was on a cell phone. You can see the glow from that cell phone in the back seat, which would be the second set of windows there. This is a large SUV. It appears to me to be maybe a Chevy Suburban type of vehicle.
Yeah, so if this is the 101 freeway, and forgive us, we're getting our bearings here a little bit, they are probably heading northbound toward the valley. We'll see if our producers can check on that for us. If not, they'd be heading toward downtown Los Angeles. You know, when we have a police pursuit in downtown LA, it's difficult not only for our helicopter, but for the Los Angeles Police Department helicopter to follow along because of different challenges. Okay, so it looks like we're on the 101 passing Glendale Boulevard.
Okay.
If this is to be believed here, we're catching our graphic up here a little bit. So, yeah, That's what it looks like anyway. It's been hard to tell. We're bouncing back between one helicopter and another right now, and maybe getting off the freeway, in fact.
You know, you just wonder, because of so many officers being put to work at the protests and whatnot, you wonder if they're already stretched thin, Sarah. All the departments are in keeping the peace when it comes to looters and watching over the protesters. You just wonder if there's enough units that can do something like this in on top of it. I mean, we were talking with the police chief today. He was telling us, in addition to the numerous additional phone calls they're taking and calls, they take 1,400 a day, and they're on top of that. So just imagine what the police departments, all the respective police departments, are dealing with at this time of all these protests, and now in the middle of that, you got a police chase.
I think we're downtown. In that case, we may be on the 110 freeway. We're going to go ahead and double check. I apologize. We're trying to get our bearings here. Yeah, so the 110 southbound is downtown LA. If he heads south, then he'll end up in San Pedro on the 110 freeway, but there are a couple of options before that, including the 10. So downtown Los Angeles now, 110 freeway. We finally have our bearings back. It's been a very quiet downtown LA for the last couple of months. In fact, a little bit eerie because of what's been going on with the pandemic. And now this driver is intent on evading officers. We might see CHP step in here. We've seen them staged over the course of the last couple of evenings along on-ramps on some of our major freeways, including the freeways that border downtown LA.
Well, very aggressive driving by this driver here, wanted for burglary, also wanted for assault on a police officer. And this is reaching speeds of 100 miles an hour. This is a very large vehicle, large SUV. And it's got a number of suspects inside as this police pursuit is happening live here on KCAL 9, coming up on the 8:30 hour. Of course, the curfew was in effect starting at 6 o'clock tonight. We can't assume that these people were associated with looting, although that's the situation. It appears there was burglary suspects inside this vehicle, and with all the businesses and everything closed, you just kind of wonder what type of crime they might have committed that wasn't associated with looting when it's a curfew and everybody's closed. But it's just assuming that may not be the case.
That's USC right there, Galen Center, passing it on the 110 freeway, so heading southbound on what is ordinarily a very busy freeway, especially in the daytime, one of the most congested in the city in terms of rush hour traffic. Of course, it's a little bit later. We're under curfew in Los Angeles. Interestingly, LAX, which he would end up at if he went down the 110 and hopped on the 105, had sent out a tweet earlier saying you could still head to the airport and pick people up from the airport in spite of the curfew.